So sometimes when we're dealing with formulas, we actually want to solve for a variable that's kind of mixed in with other variables. Like for example, with this formula that we're going to look at here, this is the formula for distance equals rate times time. So how this formula would be used is typically you'd be given a value for rate, you'd be given a value for time, and you would just multiply those together and calculate distance. But the idea is, what if we want a formula for calculating time given those other values? So it just takes some rearranging. So we're using the same formula, we're just making it look a little different, using our methods for solving equations. So then we have a kind of a new formula that uses the same properties as before. So say I wanted to take that formula and solve for t. I wanted to solve for time. And something I like to do is just highlight that variable that we're trying to solve for, because what I want to do is move everything else away from it. So what's happening here is that we have distance is equal to rate times time. So if I want to get time all alone on one side of the equation, I need to undo this multiplication with r. So to undo multiplication, I would need to divide, and I would need to divide by that value, r. And whatever I do to one side of the equation, I need to do to the other. So what's going to happen is that those would cancel out to leave us with 1. So then we would have time all alone on one side of the equation is equal to distance divided by rate. So d divided by r. And what this does is it gives us a formula to work with so that if we're given distance and given rate, we can calculate time. Let's look at doing this with this formula. This is actually the area of a triangle formula, just in case you were curious where this came from. And we want to solve for h. Now, with this one, so area equals 1/2, and then it's times base times height. And we have a fraction in here. So the idea is similar to what we did for solving equations with fractions, is that we want to multiply everything by the least common denominator, which in this case would all be just that one denominator of 2. So I want to multiply a by 2, and then I want to multiply all of this, which is connected with multiplication, by 2. So what this will look like is we'll have 2 times a equals 2 times this 1/2 times base times height. So 2 times a is just 2a equals 2 times 1/2. Those just cancel out into 1. So then all we have left over there is base times height. And then I'm still solving for h here. So what I'm going to do is h is being multiplied by b. So to get b away from there, I need to divide by b and divide by b over there as well. So those will cancel and just leave us with h equals 2 times a divided by b. And that would be our formula. So we could calculate the height of that triangle if we're given area and given the length of the base of the triangle. All right, over here, this has to do with interest rates. So what we're going to take, I'm just going to write this out a little bit more, equals P times R times T. And we want to solve for P. So P is being multiplied by two things, this rate and time. So what I'm going to do is divide, and I can divide by both of those pieces, this rate times time. I'm going to divide by both of those and divide by both of those over here as well, because then what will happen is the r's will cancel out into 1, t's will cancel out into 1, so that all we have left is P, the principal, equals, and then I divided by R times T. And there we have our formula. All right, this last example here, this is just some made up formula. The others kind of have a context to it, but this doesn't at all. But this is just if we have some equation, I'm just going to rewrite this out here, 5x plus 8y equals 1, and I want to solve for y. So again, we take care of addition, subtraction first. Like I want to get this 5x away from y. So since those are adding together, I would want to subtract 5x from both sides of the equation. So what that will do is that will turn into 0. So all we have left over is 8y, which is exactly what I want, equals, and then 1 minus 5x, we would just keep that written like that. 1 minus 5x, because we can't combine those together. They either have to both be constant, so like 1 minus 5 we could do, or they both need x, so like 1x minus 5x, we could combine those. But since they're different, constant, variable, it stays just like that. All right, and then 8 is multiplying with y, so I need to divide by 8. And when you have separated terms between addition and subtraction, everything gets divided. So everything gets divided by 8 there. So what this would look like is we'd have y equals, and then the numerator, 1 minus 5x, all over 8. And that would be our formula for solving for y.